Welcome to the Hong Kong On Screen podcast, brought to you by Hong Kong On Screen, a Los Angeles-based non-profit organization promoting films and culture of Hong Kong.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our Hong Kong On Screen podcast. And today we have me, the host of HKOS Podcast, Catherine, and then I also have another guest speaker here, Lindy. Lindy?
Hi everyone, this is Lindy Leong. I'm really honored to be part of this HKOS Film Festival that we're launching on April 28th, running to the 30th at the Starlight Whittier Cinemas in Whittier. This is the first festival for this organization. It's newly formed nonprofit centered around basically bringing preserving the voice of freedom from Hong Kong through cinema and the media arts, and we're delighted to be launching this festival, and we hope to have many people from the community and beyond attend.
Wow. Okay. You already have such a great introduction, because I think at first I just want to introduce you as your Lindy. Yeah. Okay. But that's fine. Okay. I think you already talked about the whole thing, about the key purpose for this podcast, but you can continue. Yeah. So go ahead.
Sorry about that. I got right to it, but kind of in the spirit of how HKOS formed, we are a collective. Currently comprised of mainly academics, artists, students, and concerned global citizens who care about what's been going on in Hong Kong of especially the last few years, with the protest movement, the student-led protest movement. So as part of the diaspora here, we're trying to bring preserve voices, platform voices that talk, and those varied perspectives to talk about what's been going on there freely, outside of any kind of government censorship. So my interest in this is because I am also a child of the diaspora. I'm second generation US born. So my Cantonese is fairly good. Okay, not as good as a first generation person, but this is my into this collective. And
but that's enough, right? You can understand all the Hong Kong film in Cantonese, right? You don't need to watch. You don't need to read.
Yeah, and I don't need subtitles at all. So just in case, and so I shouldn't be so hard on myself. I'm very semi-fluent. But my involvement stems from the fact that I've been a film and media educator, and more significantly, a festival programmer. Specifically for Asian American Pacific Islander Film Fest, community-based festival like this one. And among many things, I'm also an audiovisual archivist. So I have investment in film and media preservation. And we'll talk about a few films in the lineup that have had recent restoration, which is of great interest to me personally. So thank you very much.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I think you, just from your background, you already programming for multiple film festival in United States, right? In the United States. So for this type of film festival, like this one right now, the HKOS Film Festival, what do you think about this type? Because I believe actually this type of film festival really focus on just one single region and focus on just Hong Kong film. I think this is kind of the first or maybe the only film festival dedicated to 100% all the film to Hong Kong film, right? So what do you think about this type? What's the significance for this HKOSFF so far from your experience?
Given what has been going on with the Hong Kong film industry, if you think of it in parallel with the politics in Hong Kong right now, I think it is important that we have the space that this festival provides, and as you already alluded to and said, it is maybe perhaps one of the few, if not the only, festival dedicated to Hong Kong cinema and diaspora. It solely features only Hong Kong cinema. And Hong Kong cinema, as many people who've been following, whether you're a film buff or somebody who studies Asian cinema, has been on the wane. It's been we've been some years away from the golden age or the Hong Kong new wave, which will feature in the festival lineup with our Leslie Anita tribute. But it is kind of a spotlight on this region that I think deserves that kind of
attention.
attention and closer study, and also kind of like this is not a defunct cinema, as I think some scholars or maybe even journalists or pundits have already said. There is creative activity and imagination beyond the commercial space that's going on in Hong Kong right now. A lot of it coming from emerging student filmmakers, people who are the younger generation, who are looking to make film and also create art around being Hong Kongers, around their lived experience as Hong Kongers, that is not in line, potentially not in line with commercial interests, and also definitely maybe not in line with like what the government voice. And this festival is important is because we're giving those artists and creators that platform to do that freely without the fear of censorship, so forth. And I think why you should patronize this festival is like you're supporting in a way through this cultural programming, through cinema, through just the media arts in this sense, what you're supporting this independent voice of the Hong Konger today.
Yes.
So yes,
that's good. And then I think even including the organization HKOS is also independent organization, and is 100% volunteer base right now, right? So this is also like if you go to like support or buy a ticket to see the film from this organization, actually you are also supporting this platform. And then we hope this film festival is not only just for 1 year, right? We hope that we can like carry on this altitude and spirit continuously next year and then the following years in the future too.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a super grassroots efforts, as Catherine has already noted. Everyone here has a day job, okay, and we're doing this on our spare time, but we are very committed, a community of folks, and a lot of us, work in cultural work. We work in academia. We work in nonprofit work. So we're kind of already, like I think we are the converted, and obviously we want people who care about social justice and like freedom of speech and the rule of law, preserving the rule of law. People who, whether you have any understanding of what's been going on in Hong Kong or just these values, we want people who share those values to come out and support these films, and to understand why these filmmakers are crafting these particular stories at this time, at this juncture. And why, in certain films have gotten pushback, about, in terms of where they can screen. So hopefully we want to be one of those platforms to support the theatrical exhibitions of these films that have, in some cases, been banned at home, in the homeland, or have kind of dealt with like distribution issues because of like political sensitivity around the stories of the films, so forth.
Okay. So how about let's talk about the program, right? The film festival, it started from April 28th, 29th, and 30th. So it's 3 days program from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So how about let's talk about the first day program, day one's program, Friday, April 28th. We have 2 films in there. Okay. So do you think have like any kind of like highlight or recommendation? Why do we need to come to see these 2 films, Rouge and then Nomad?
Well, okay, as some people have been following us, okay, we announced early on that we were doing a 20th anniversary tribute to Hong Kong icon Leslie Cheung and Anita who anyone even with a cursory knowledge of Hong Kong cinema will know who these 2 folks are. They, it's the 20th anniversary of both of their premature passing, him by suicide, unfortunately, her by cancer. And they were really stars of what we thought of as a Hong Kong new wave, and they really put Hong Kong cinema on the map globally. The films they starred in especially in the 80s and 90s, has this indelible legacy to today. I think for just Hong Kong cinema, but just Hong Kong popular culture, and now I would even add global popular culture. They have been very influential on other East Asian cinema and international art house cinema, and like music. Both of them were tremendously popular cantopop singers, for those of us who know what that is. And yeah, so we wanted to carve out that space to celebrate them in the 20th year. Okay, so we're kicking off the first night by doing this double feature. It kind of organically formed in that way. The first one is Rouge, which is it's by director Stanley Kwan, and some of you guys may know him as he's a very prominent director of the Hong Kong New Wave, Second Wave, and Rouge is a period drama, a supernatural period drama starring both of them, and they played these doomed lovers that like have this kind of supernatural, I would say, reunion some years later in a more contemporary Hong Kong, and it's a film that I think I described it as a fever dream about what Hong Kong was and is. It does allude to the history of Hong Kong, the ghosts, if you will, of Hong Kong's past, and through that love story, which has a supernatural component. It's a very poignant film that recently has gotten a 4K restoration, has been streaming on Criterion Collection for those cinephiles in the audience here. But it really has been kind of like underrated and very underseen, I think, outside of like people who study East Asian cinema, festival people, academia. And now
I think even including to the even to the Hong Kong like just common audience, they don't really have a chance to see it on big screen either.
Yes.
Although that probably maybe they can watch it on like TV, because the TV station, they actually keep repeating like to show this film, because this is one of the classic, everyone love to watch it, and then the music are good, and then of course, okay, just like you mentioned, Anita and Leslie Cheung, everyone knows about them, so they watch this movie in the TV quite often, I think, maybe regularly, a year or two, and then the TV will like repeat to broadcast it again. But still, I think there's rarely a chance that we can like watch it on the big screen. So so even though right now you just mentioned, right, Criterion channel, right now they are streaming it on their Criterion channel, but still, if you are around the area in LA, please come buy a ticket and then to watch this film on the big screen with all of us. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think it's extremely important.
Yes. Yeah. And then the second one is Nomad, right? Okay, this one you must buy the ticket to come to see the film, because that I don't think there's any kind of like platform, or even the director right now is still very restricted to show any clips, so they don't have any official trailer. They only have pictures, some still pictures, so they didn't have any kind of like moving images right now exposed. So Nomad, another kind of like symbolic film to represent the Hong Kong New Wave, right, Lindy?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we were very delighted to have this late addition to the festival slate, Nomad, which is an early Leslie film from 1982. It's directed by Patrick Tam, who some people know who as a mentor to Wong Kar-wai. And he's still he's an elder statesman of the Hong Kong New Wave, and this film is an early a film not only with Leslie but also kind of the New Wave, and it has been very underseen, unavailable really to be seen for many years. Okay, so we were happy to be able to host this 4K restoration that's coming directly from the Udine Far East Film Festival in Italy. So we're like this, I think the second festival we're going to get this, and very happy to have this. It kind of worked really well with our Leslie Anita tribute. So as Catherine already mentioned, it's really Leslie in his early days, and the actor and his screen presence is very, I think, apparent when you watch this film, and it kind of shows his promise as a leading light of the Hong Kong New Wave, and like he's in a role that's very much in alignment, I think, with his cinematic image, as playing a young decadent man who's kind of searching for both, as I put it, I think somewhere already online, carnal and spiritual fulfillment. And this is cast in the 80s kind of backdrop of like Hong Kong being, especially the youth generation, being very absorbed and obsessed with Japanese culture. And his character and his friends is about a young group of friends being obsessed with Japanese culture, as kind of in alignment with what a lot of East Asian kids and even overseas folks are obsessed with South Korean culture right now,
Yes,
with
yes.
especially with the boy bands and girl groups and so forth, and that cultural space. So it looks at youth, kind of like I guess like desire and youth kind of like search for identity. Okay.
Yes.
And so this it's just really, I would say, come see this because it shows Leslie's kind of promise as an actor. You see it very much in this film. And yeah, it's a snapshot of like Hong Kong youth culture as well in the 80s that was captured in this film.
Even is in 1980s, but I think it's already represent a very progressive and then very, very liberal type culture in Hong Kong that it does really make Hong Kong like very special among all other Asian society, I think, at that time, because it really showed that how liberal of Hong Kong and then how progressive Hong Kong, and then it also made why could Hong Kong become a center of this like pop culture center maker, because at that time it's really the environment, right? It made Hong Kong can open that kind of like dialogue in the society. Okay, how about let's move to day 2. We have 4 movies, right, in day 2. The first one is the Heroic Trial, and then Days of Being Wild, and then the Narrow Road, and then Final is made in Hong Kong. So what do you think about this lineup in day 2? Because I think it's quite a mix, right? But we still have like Leslie Cheung and then Anita Boy, and then but we also got some new film, and then of course, okay, we're artistic art house favorite made in Hong Kong. So can you like give us some hint of all the movie?
Absolutely. Okay, so on day 2 on Saturday, April 29th, we're going to be hosting 2 earlier screenings. That's part of the tribute section for Anita and Leslie. So we're starting out with the Heroic Trio, which I believe has kind of like its star has risen, like has become it's a cult film. I feel like that's becoming more well known, and as by an early work by action auteur Johnny To. Who's still very much active today for those who follow Hong Kong cinema. And this is an early work with him, which just, foregrounds like 3 female leads that we've all come to know and love. So Anita Mui, who plays Wonder Woman, who has a secret identity as a mild-mannered wife of a police inspector, and then by night she's a vigilante for social justice. And known as Wonder Woman, and then she's joined by Maggie Cheung, who most of you, I think, if you follow Hong Kong cinema, you know who she is. She plays the thief catcher, so another like this really a woman who's just like I think sword wielding, motorcycle riding, like tough girl. And finally, but not least, of course, newly minted Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh as the Invisible Woman. So she kind of like is this very enigmatic character who joins the other 2 ladies, and they make up the Heroic Trio. So this is it's a lot of like action, Hong Kong action in a classical sense, but also a lot of like comic book kind of like backdrop to it. So it's like kind of, it's a fun film, it's pulpy, and it shows the promise of not only Anita Mui as a screen presence for sure, but elevating. This is definitely like a female centered film that really push forth not only Anita Mui but like her 2 co-stars. But all 3 women were all like on the rise, and their stars were on the rise, and this showcased them as this film was a great showcase for their talents, for their different talents. And yeah, so that's a fun film to watch. I think in the morning, please bring your family. It's pretty family friendly, especially by today's standards.
Yes. Okay. The next one, Days of Being Wild.
Yes, and of course we finish our tribute to Leslie Anita with Days of Being Wild, which I feel like for those of you guys who are Wong Kar-wai fans and have not seen this film, it's like time for that. It's one of his, it's his sophomore film by the director. And I feel like it's a film that often doesn't get seen as opposed to like Chungking Express and The Mood for Love, which are shown all the time, I think, in repertory. Days of Being Wild, you know, its reputation has ascended throughout the years. It was made around 1990, and it has like Leslie and Maggie Cheung, who was in Heroic Trio, Andy Lau, you know, I mean, and then like Jackie Chung, and then like Karina Lau, everybody, like these are all heavy hitters of the Hong Kong New Wave, these stars, and they all kind of were they make up this ensemble cast of Days of Being Wild with Leslie as the lead, because it is really about his story as, again, playing this into this image that has been synonymous with, but who, you know, he does transcend this image, but he plays so well as this like wayward young man who's in search of his birth mother. And it's just kind of like, you know, like drifting through life, becoming this bit of a womanizer, a cad, and just kind of like, you know, without a person without direction, who's just kind of like living life on the edge, in like without responsibility, and so for a wayward youth, and you can't help to fall in love with his character. Like you just want to help him, even though he's kind of always like making mistakes, and like obviously is kind of headed to a fate that's kind of like undesirable, let's just say that. But it's just the beauty of the film, how Wong Kar-wai shot the film, showing just these group of people in Hong Kong who are from very disparate walks of life, and their desires, their desire for something better, something beyond the day-to-day. That's not quite pinpoint. It could be love, it could be like family, it could be just transcending something, transcending their self, whatever their self is. So I think Days of Being Wild is about that, ultimately, with Leslie anchoring the piece. So I really encourage people who love Hong Kong cinema and haven't seen this, or even have seen it, to watch it on the big screen, because it's beautiful cinematography by his regular go-to
Exactly. Okay, so you know, in our LA like screening venue, Starlight, that is kind of like mark the end of the tribute to Leslie Cheung. But actually in San Diego, we have another film also like play our tribute to Leslie Cheung. That's Happy Together. It's also from Wong Kar-wai. And then I think Happy Together probably maybe a lot of like film lovers, they might already watch this film, but do you have any like a few sentences to talk about Happy Together to recommend it? Because we are going to show that in May, on May 13th, is a Saturday at 7:45 in San Diego.
Okay, yes. Okay, so Catherine's talking about our collaboration with the Hong Konger community centers in San Francisco and San Diego. So in San Diego, we will also be showing Happy Together, which is the other film in our slate from Wong Kar-wai, and this one stars Leslie and like Tony Leong, who I think most of you guys know now from having he's now joined Marvel, you know, in Shang-Chi. So this is I think a very seminal film for Wong Kar-wai, you know, and it definitely shows Leslie in his kind of like in his full flower, let's just say, as an actor, as a performer. And the two men play, you know, like doom lovers in I guess Argentina, and it's about their romance. And I feel like this film is very trailblazing in terms of its representation of LGBTQ couple like that in the Hong Kong diaspora context. And I think it's been very much embraced by international art house fans. For how it tells this unique story of like of Hong Kong identity, but also like projecting into like Hong Kong as this kind of diaspora in itself, and it's a given diaspora, given what, you know, it's the nature of its existence, and also forecasting to its the China hangover, the handover in '97. So this film very much, I think, forecast that, and through this story, this story of this gay couple who are constantly negotiating the status of their relationship abroad. interestingly enough. Yeah.
Okay. And then I just want to have one reminder that is the heroic trial actually is also going to show in San Diego. It will be show on May 13th, Saturday at 3:30. Okay, so let's continue our day 2 screening in LA. Okay, right. Beside the first two movie on Anita Mui and Leslie Cheung, we still have 2 more on Saturday. The one is The Narrow Road, and then the next one is made in Hong Kong. So The Narrow Road actually just won award in the Hong Kong Film Award. I think is the best music. But of course, okay, this The Narrow Road actually got a lot of like the film award, even though they didn't won the award, but it's still okay. They got a lot of attention, because even including the best actor and best actress, right? They, even though they didn't won, but it still means something. It means they're acting are really good, and then also the directors also got that again. Okay, he didn't win, but still he's on the list.
Okay.
The Narrow Road.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay, so so like we pivot then to like two like very, we pivot to 2 different but equally exciting independent Hong Kong film. The Narrow Road, which Catherine just mentioned. It's a very recent film that we actually saw at the San Diego Asian Film Festival last fall.
Last year.
They had the
I know you love it.
I really liked it. Yeah, I really did like it. I think it's very much a reflection of contemporary Hong Kong today. I mean, obviously the story is set in the early days of the COVID pandemic, and it looks at, essentially, young folks who are like struggling, and also struggling, but also banding together to make it through this very extremely trying time. Okay, so it's a very working class story, a slice of life drama that, again, Hong Kong cinema has done very well in the past. And unfortunately, I think in the West we haven't had access to these type of films, and in terms of distribution channel, films like this have not been given the platform it needed to thrive. So this story, I found it very moving. It is about, a cleaner who goes around basically disinfecting spaces because of COVID. And it's about, he's a young man who's an entrepreneur, who's actually a very, very caring person. And he takes on a new associate, a young single mother who has a young daughter. And they kind of, in a way, over time form this, chosen family, to use that term. And it's about them surviving COVID and basically what's going on in Hong Kong as an environment. As a typical citizen. They're typical citizens trying to go through the everyday. Yes. And so this film, I think, it's very moving and very charming. Don't think about, okay, it's set in COVID-19, therefore it's going to be depressing. Okay, but it's actually very heartwarming and very family friendly. I encourage you to bring family to see this as well, but also friends. This, it's a very the age group of the characters, I would say millennials. They're young people, but not too young. So it's very, I think, it has a lot of interest, I think, across many audiences. So I highly encourage you to see The Narrow Road. It's very rare to be able to watch a film like this because it's not an action film, it's not a horror film.
Exactly. And then also not a big budget film, and then they actually don't really have a big star, even though the star they have their own fame, right? But it's still kind of like more independent film, but they are not like those big commercial budget box office film star. And then actually I just checked, okay, this film got 10 nominations for this year's film awards, even though they only won one that is the best original film score. But I think still nomination is still a big thing, right? So 10 nomination, and then including best director, best actor, best actress, best film, best screenplay. So basically all the big awards, they all got nominated. So it can already like say, okay, the quality of this film. How about the last one on day 2? That is Made in Hong Kong. What do you think about this film?
Well, okay. Well, Made in Hong Kong, I think because it has recently been restored, and it's been restored in a 4K print. It's gotten a lot of theatrical distribution, more so than I think it has in years. It was made in 97, I believe it came out in 97, on the year of the handover. And it's a film by Fu Chan, who I think some of you also will know his name because he is another major director from the Hong Kong New Wave, very much working today. I feel like this film is like a blueprint for the film we just talked about, the Narrow Road. It's very much an indie on the fringe like work that was very low budget and very much not commercial in its orientation because of the storyline and just the way it's shot on location. It has this like basically like I would say mixed, I think, professional actors and non-professional who are part of the production. And it very much like I think again forecast kind of like the concerns of like Hong Kong youth in that time period. I vented kind of like the frustration of youth even in 97. This is 25 plus years.
Yes, exactly.
And I think and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like it was received very well when it came out because it did that. Yeah,
because it's a small budget at that time. I think it's only cost 1 million Hong Kong dollar, and then I think the news, I still remember the news always mentioned, oh, this is such a small budget, but they produced like 10 times of the budget. I mean, the box office, finally the revenue kind of like 10 times of the budget. So that's really a big thing. And also in 1997, even though the Hong Kong film industry is already like going downfall, but it's still, we still have a lot of big budget and then high profile film. But this one is kind of like really not mainstream, but got a lot of attention during those years. And then so when it got a 4K restoration, actually they show it in Hong Kong, almost like all the screenings got full. So because a lot of people like went to theaters to see those kind of like nostalgia, to still remember things like before 1997, the Hong Kong before 1997. And try to compare, of course, okay, you cannot stop yourself to compare before and after 1997, right? But this film, because it's exactly released in 1997, kind of like in between that time, so a lot of like memory and nostalgia feeling for the Hong Kong people.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the 4K restoration, I think the quality is very good, and then it's made by a European company. I think they did a very good job, because I watched it in Hong Kong like a few years ago already, when they like first like screened it in Hong Kong. Okay, how about let's move to day 3, our last day of the program. And then again, we have 3 screenings, but actually we have 4 films in here, right? The first one is The Sparring Partner, and then the second is a combined double feature, To Be Continued and The Entrepreneur. And then the last one is our closing film, is The Sunny Side of the Street. So let's talk about the Sparring Partner first. Again, okay, just mention related to the Hong Kong Film Award. This film, The Sparring Partner, got like 16 nominations. Is one of the biggest number in film history, and then also I think among all the film this year, this film got the most nomination.
Okay, so. Yeah, I mean, this is another example of a film from from the contemporary Hong Kong space that I think deserves our attention. It's a first film, I believe,
for the director. Yes.
Yeah, and it's actually based on a true. Oh, go ahead.
He just won the prize. He just won the award from the Hong Kong Film Award for the new director. The best new director. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for letting me know, because for those of you guys, as we're recording this podcast, that the Hong Kong Film Awards just happened, so this very freshly new information that we're getting. But I'm happy to hear the director won the award for like new emerging director. So this was based on this film. It's a courtroom drama, essentially. I guess intense courtroom drama. I know that's a whole genre in itself, and in many cinemas, national cinemas. So it's based on events about a man named Henry Cheung, who I guess had an accomplice when he decided to murder his family, his parents, and then not only murder his parents, but
he
also
already murdered his parents. Yes,
murder his parents, and also dismember their corpses. It sounds really gruesome and dark, but it's about really the film is about the aftermath of that, the whole court case against him, and like what what's truth, what's false, and like determination of guilt and so forth, and the drama of that court case that kind of rocked the Hong Kong court system.
And then because the film actually is not focused on the killing part, right? Just like you said, it's focused on the aftermath, and then especially on the like in the court, like the jury, how did they decide what's the judgment, and how, but based on what? Okay, can they trust the witness, and who are they going to stand with, right? I think that's all actually very difficult to direct, right? Do you think that this film, because it's really kind of like dialogue led movie, right? Very heavy based on dialogue, and then so that you also require the acting and actress. You really need to have a lot of acting, like probably just from a facial expression, because that it show that what do you think, what are you thinking, and when you receive after receiving like this one sentence, what are you thinking? Actually, they really need to act on that just one dialogue. So very dialogue led, and then also very like acting like drama film.
Very much like performance based character driven piece, and those of you guys who are like into true crime, I mean, this is as true crime as it can get, and I encourage people to come out to watch this film for this, if you're looking for like an intense kind of like thrilling kind of drama that's kind of based around true crime, people who are interested in that, and
okay, that's good. Okay, how about the second, like the double feature, right, To Be Continued and The Entrepreneur? And this two film about like an hour, right? About more than a little bit more than an hour.
Yeah, so we are for the second program on Sunday. We're showing these two films. They're kind of slightly over featurette length. They're like about an hour and some more. They're kind of like under the traditional 90-minute mark that we normally have for a feature film.
But they are longer than a short, right? They are longer than our common knowledge about short. So that's why we put them together.
Yes. Yeah. So To Be Continued, it's a documentary about the State Theater in North Point and the fight to preserve this historic, iconic film. But it's also more about like not just about that venue's history, but its history of the founder, Harry Odell, who is not originally from Hong Kong. Like he was like Cairo-born, was a Russian Jewish man who became kind of like Hong Kong's first impresario, basically a person who was like a cultural producer. And he was behind this theater, and it's about tracing his legacy in the city-state, and how he kind of like gave the start to a lot of these performers. And basically how he was very much in the center of like a lot of the cultural life of Hong Kong.
Yes, in 1930s, right? Kind of like the origins of all our entertainment industry in Hong Kong. Yeah, one of the leader and one of like the big name, one of the big guy. And I think that's really amazing, right? Because the whole documentary started from a venue, from that you just mentioned about that theater, because they want to preserve it. But because once when they trace back about the history of that venue, and then they found out this very, very important guy, a man, who actually is kind of like the leader or kind of like the founder of the Hong Kong entertainment history origin, I mean, in 1930s. So that is really an amazing like discovery. How about the second one, The Entrepreneur?
Well, The Entrepreneur is kind of another very wonderful, it's like an anthology film by another first-time filmmaker who was a journalist. So it's comprised of 3 shorts that are kind of interrelated, I would say. And another film like The Narrow Road that kind of, it's a snapshot of contemporary Hong Kong, and with a focus on young people again. So I mean, I what to say, there are 3 different shorts that kind of like captures like different like moments of like Hong Kong reality for especially young people. In one chapter, we have a Hong Konger couple trying, like, literally, I think going through some sort of I guess like soul searching, you will, about leaving Hong Kong to immigrate to the UK, because it's a film that's not, the entire film is not overtly political, but you know what they're talking about. So the filmmaker is showing this young people, okay, and the couple contemplating moving out of Hong Kong. They are moving out of Hong Kong, the reasons why, and what they will miss about Hong Kong. So this particular short celebrates, like, kind of like, it's kind of like an elegy. I think I mentioned that somewhere, elegy to Hong Kong as it is through these young people's eyes. A second installment in the film looks at a student and look at kind of the anxiety of a student, a young woman who is literally having like nightmares about being a student in Hong Kong at this moment, like constantly being so there's kind of this dystopian storyline in this chapter where she is forced to submit to government surveillance while at college, at school, and she's having kind of like this philosophical debate about it with her teacher. And it's like, do we know, is this a dream? Is this a nightmare she's living through, or is it kind of like a reality that's to come? So that chapter talks about that. And finally, the third one is literally about three different young people who meet because they were part of the student-led protest movement, the pro-democracy movement of the last few years, and centers around one of them about to be incarcerated for their participation. And it's just about, these three people who really, I think it's alluded to that they really have nothing much in common other than the fact they care about what Hong Kong is to them. And it's the night before. It's literally, that's the title of that chapter. Thinking about, what has trespassed, what they have done together, what are their aspirations for the future? Was it worth it? The price of freedom to what they've done. So it's a meditative piece, very touching about the sacrifice of youth for what they believe in. So again, Entrepot as a whole, I feel like, touches upon a lot of concerns of young people in Hong Kong, and I feel like it's a representative of a film that we can give platform for. And I feel like,
and then the director and then all the actor and actress are very new, and then so I'm glad that we could finally like include this film in our film festival. And then I really like to introduce all these new filmmakers to our audience, and then to our like local community member, and then to see the Hong Kong film. We not only we have Wong Kar-wai, like Jackie Chan, all this right already like kind of like celebrity, but we still have a lot of like this new talent coming into the film industry, and then they are continuing about this legend of Hong Kong film industry. Okay, how about let's talk about the last film, our closing film, The Sunny Side of the Street.
Well, okay. Well, The Sunny Side of the Street, what can I say? It's also like you need to kind of like talk about how it did at the Hong Kong Film Award. I feel like it's one that has gotten, I don't know, it's gotten a bunch of accolades, but it basically is another very contemporary Hong Kong film in its story, in the story that it looks at the refugee situation there through this kind of charming slice of life drama involving a taxi driver who's played by Hong Kong icon and like Anthony Wong, who can do no wrong, in this role as a middle-aged taxi driver who kind of takes under his wing this young, I believe, Pakistani boy who's an immigrant, who's a child of immigrants, refugees in Hong Kong, and they kind of form this kind of like ad hoc father-son, I don't know, relationship, because the young boy's home life is very troubled because of his citizenship status, and there's a tragedy that befalls his family, and so he's kind of left I guess like on his own, and then like Anthony Wong's character becomes kind of like a surrogate father, grandfather to him, and it's about that relationship, the coming together of those communities.
Yeah, just a new update from the Hong Kong Film Award. Actually, the young actor in this movie also just won the New Actor Award. And then you know who present that award to him? That's Michelle Yeoh, because Michelle Yeoh was like last night the film awards the highlight because she actually went back to be a presenter, and she told the audience the first time she was in the film award was also nominated for the new actor. So that's why last night she performed. I mean, she presented this award to the best new actor. So I kind of like a celebration of her, like the beginning, and then of course right now she already won the best Oscar, right? The actress. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think it's very interesting to have this arrangement. Like ask her to present that new, because I expect, right, when we receive the news that Michelle Yeoh is going to like in the Hong Kong Film Award, we expect she might going to present a big award, like the best director or even the best film. But instead, they arrange her to present the award to a new actor, and then actually that is the first award presentation for the
wonderful
for all the night.
So
it's a very interesting arrangement for that. But I think I'm glad that to see like Michelle Yeoh, right, with such an experienced actress, and then to present the award to a new and very, very young. He's still a kid, that actor, and got that reward. That got that award.
Things come full circle.
And then the Sunny Side of the Street also will be screened in Bay Area. If for those audience, if you are living in Bay Area, you can also purchase ticket on Friday. And then in LA, we are going to screen it on Sunday at Sunday night at 7. But in Bay Area, it will screen on Friday at 8 p.m. Okay, so it seems like we already covered all our feature program. Like Lindy, I know that you are also kind of like pair with most of the screening with some of the short, right? And then some of the short that we actually is a global calling. And we actually received more than 700 of the short, and then finally we pick a few of the short to be paired with our screen because of the time limit. Because of the theater, right? We only ran a certain time, so we cannot show all those short. So we just selectively pick a few of them. So do you have a few words to talk about all those short?
Yes, I do. So we, as Catherine already mentioned, that we don't have a one dedicated programming slot for shorts. We are doing what is called pre-feature shorts. So we selected ultimately from a combined a cross section of curated and open call work. So we did an open call in December. Global open call for films, short films about the Hong Kong experience. So some of these films that got selected are part of that open call. Others we curated from films that we vetted that we thought would be good for the program. So we came up with this, like, I think about a slate of 10 films. So they're all very different, and we did our best to kind of prepare them with respective feature films that would seem, organically paired in some way that would make sense. So we have, and they're representative of very different genres. So like we have more art house, we have experimental, we have documentary and horror and drama represented in these films, and they're mostly coming from emerging and even student filmmakers. So we appreciate the variety. It's a testament to the variety of like filmmaking going on in Hong Kong now that you probably won't have a chance to see in the commercial space so much. So please, I encourage you to come right at the start time of each program, because we will start with a short film. And then we roll into the feature presentation. So we have, a bunch of different films, like Three Rivers for a Fish. We paired, I believe, with Rouge. Yes. It's a film interestingly made by two students who were from Chile, who were doing a semester abroad in Hong Kong, and they made this film, and it's entirely set. It's about a Chinese woman in Hong Kong. Contemplating, I guess you can say, having contemplating the course of her life in a philosophical way, but very much in in alignment with the style of Rouge, kind of a dreamlike piece. Okay. It's I thought it was very uniquely made and very much in alignment with the themes of Rouge. So that's why we put that together. On the other hand, we have another short like by 3 p.m., which is like a more of a horror leaning short, looking at a young woman who decides to in post 2019 Hong Kong and in COVID decides to like not to be a shut-in, but like decides to quit her job and kind of work remotely. She moves into this like new apartment building that she uses as an office, and then then I think a haunting begins possibly in her floor, where she keeps hearing this like mysterious piano music at certain times of the day. And I mean, is it a ghost? What is this? So it's kind of a film that worked really well with some of our the themes in our overall festival slate. So and
then the second day we also have a few short, right, to pair with the main feature screening.
Yeah, we do. Like for the second day, we have like for Made in Hong Kong, we have this wonderful diaspora film called The Outlanders from Hong Kong to Seattle. And it's literally a short documentary about a young woman who decides to immigrate to Seattle after the 2019 anti-extradition law amendment movement. And it's just about her, her not only her settling in the U.S., but also her contemplating, her decision to migrate, to leave her homeland. So it does capture kind of like very well the experience of, I think, a lot of young Hong Kongers who are leaving Hong Kong right now, the last few years, and that only has expedited with the encroaching government, Chinese government control in Beijing, from Beijing. So this is a great piece from a diaspora filmmaker. 2 Hours, a film that also we put in. I got another film that's set in like nighttime Hong Kong about working class folks. This is I'm a father who is a delivery driver for food delivery driver, and he takes along his young son on his deliveries. And it's just about them, kind of their relationship, but also through their relationship and their I guess their encounter with other people in Hong Kong shows this Hong Kong, a different side of Hong Kong, a Hong Kong that's kind of in flux, also in transit, because they encounter folks who are also contemplating their status in the international city stage. Should I stay? Should I go? And so forth. Contemplating life elsewhere. So these 2 films are paired with Made in Hong Kong, which I think is very well done in that sense, where like a good pairing. And we have we also have 2 experimental shorts, 2 essay films called that are going to play with our double feature, The Entrepot and To Be Continued. And these are 2 experimental films that were shot on location in Hong Kong, and like skews very much experimental and art house, and it's very much in the genre of what we call, and those people who are in the audience who are film people, like the essay film. Okay, so a lot of like documentary imagery paired with narration and social commentary, but like kind of like overall constructing an argument, a very direct argument of, that's very much in alignment with like I guess a critique, you will, critique on what's been going on in Hong Kong politically. In particular to censorship and the rule of the violation of rule of law, the violence that was experienced by youth. Okay. So these are 2 experimental films that really critique that. We have finally we have a couple of films that are like I also thought were very good, that we're showing with The Sunny Side of the Street, White Night and Night is Young. These are the English title. There's so many nights There's
Yeah,
too many
so many
nights.
nights.
I feel
Yeah,
like,
so many nights. So when I
yeah,
got this list of short film, I thought they are all the same film, but finally I found out no, they are all different. But there's so
no,
many same name, night,
yeah,
night.
yeah. Don't let that deter you from watching these films because they're actually quite different. It's just the
Mm-hmm.
English title is what it is. Okay,
Yeah.
so like these two films are also like very directly, they're narrative shorts that directly address the political situation in Hong Kong in their various way. One, Night is Young is about a taxi driver, somebody who obviously, has that mobility to kind of like see, and it can be our avatar, let's just say, to see
Mm-hmm.
what is going on in Hong
Yeah.
Kong, a cross section of the community in Hong Kong. And it's really about him in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and his experiencing driving different
Yeah.
clients
Mm-hmm.
around different fairs around all over the island,
Mm-hmm.
and about his perspective and his
Mm-hmm.
encounter with them, and through them reflected all the different different perspectives of
Yes.
people who are experiencing the political turmoil of the
Mm-hmm.
time, literally,
Mm-hmm.
okay, firsthand. And he bears witness to
Mm-hmm.
their kind of like their kind of like drama.
Mm-hmm.
White Knight is about a young woman who, like, a Hong Konger who migrates to Taiwan kind of in 2020, and it's just really about her trying to, like, I guess, set up a new life in Taiwan. We don't really know what's going on with her. It's very much alluded to, like, why she moved, hey. So it's also kind of another politically infused film that's not political, but it shows her kind of like, again, dealing with this forced migration because of her political beliefs. I feel like that's alluded to in the film, but it's a film that it's really much about, again, a young person, a young Hong Kongers engagement with their lived reality in 2020. In during the height of the student protest movement, and the pro-democracy movement, and their role in it, like her as an example, as a representative of a youth involved in such political activity and the consequences of that. So
Okay. So have you
great
already
film.
covered all the short? I think
They're
right?
really, most of them. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I talked way too much already, but they're basically, it's a really, 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 like, the cross section of these short films. They span the gamut. They span genres and kind of film style. Some are more commercial. Some are more like what we think of as indie drama. Some are like a documentary. Like what a documentary, and others are like experimental essay films. So that requires a different kind of like engagement. But there's something for everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you watch all these, you'll get a good sense of, like, just the diversity of like just Hong Kong cinema, and like now Hong Kong cinema now, people who are making film, making works now.
Yeah.
So
and then, so even though those are like experimental film or like even just a student film, but we selected them because they actually show a good quality of filmmaking, right? Is we are not, because they are Hong Kongers, then we just pick them. No, actually they are really in a good quality and then has some meaning, and then we all love it, right? Because I think when we review the film, it's not only you and me, we still have a few other reviewer, and then I think we all we have a committee, and then we all actually like really have some kind of like same preference to a number of films. So so that is the result about our rating, about our voting result for all the short. Okay.
Not
so
bad for first festival.
Thank you, Lindy, for joining me today, and then to tell to share with all of us about the film festival. And I really appreciate, Lindy, your work, and then also your contribution to our film festival. Without you, I don't think we can have such a great lineup, and then also like the programming with all the pairs. So thank you, Lindy, for your work, and then also your contribution to this organization.
It's my pleasure. Well, I keep telling people this is a collective. Okay, we kind of we more or less, we sort of have a flat hierarchy. It's very much a collective, and so everybody's voice counts, and we work as a team. So very much in alignment with the spirit of like decentralized leadership of a protest movement. But that we that many of our films are kind of alluding to directly or like not directly, indirectly in their stories.
Yeah. So I hope that if right now you have listened to our program like this podcast, and if you are in LA around those time, like around that week, right? April 28th, April 29th, and April 30th, please come to see our films and enjoy us. And we can have a conversation, right, in the theater, right, Lindy?
Yeah, we will. We will have some guest speakers for the
Yeah.
Leslie Anita section. I'm really grateful to the folks who can come out who can talk about those films. And yeah, it's like your opportunity to come hang out with the Hong Kong community here, the Hong Konger diaspora. Whether you're a Hong Konger or like myself, a child of a Hong Konger family, like people who are interested in Asian cinema, who are interested in, who are cinephiles. We want you guys to come. It's like we were showing some great films just throughout, this program, even from the tribute section with Anita and Leslie to all these newer Hong Kong films that we're showing that again span a spectrum of genres and tastes. So and it's very hard to, I think, see these films theatrically outside of something like a community context like this, like a platform like this.
Okay, I think that's all right, Indy. Okay,
yes,
so hope to see you all. Okay, I have to see you all. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank
Bye.
you.
Okay, bye-bye.